Welcome to our lesson on the first people to move to New Jersey. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to list at least 3 different groups of people who were the first to move here. If someone were to ask, "Where are you from?" what would you say? Most people would probably say they were from the United States, but not everyone. Some of you or your families might have come from somewhere in South America, or a country in Africa, or Europe, or Asia, or somewhere else. And even if you and your family have lived in America a really long time, not everyone may have always lived in New Jersey. For example, I was born and raised in California. And even though I left California almost 30 years ago and have lived in several other states before coming to New Jersey, when people ask where I'm originally from, I usually say California. So here we are in New Jersey on the eastern side of the United States. But unless you are 100% Native American, nobody's family started off here. Today we're going to look at the beginnings of New Jersey's history and who those first people were to come live here. So who were those first people? Does anyone have any guesses? The Native Americans had, of course, been in what we now call America for a very long time. There are many different tribes, each one with their own culture and customs, living in different places around the country. The tribe that settled in New Jersey called themselves the Lenape. They arrived more than 1,000 years ago, and there were other tribes who came as early as 12,000 years ago. We'll consider them to already be here, since they had been here for so long already by the time New Jersey became colonized by Europeans. The first Europeans to explore and live in New Jersey were the Dutch, from the Netherlands. You might also know this country by its other name, Holland. They began to settle in New Jersey in 1624, about 400 years ago, and were the first European settlement in the area. In those days, it was common to name new places after old places in their home countries, so the Dutch settlers called their colony here New Netherlands. That's the Dutch spelling. They first settled in upstate New York, but eventually moved their capital to New Amsterdam, which they had named after their old capital in Holland. Today we call that city New York City. Their colony spread throughout what is now New Jersey, and also the Hudson area, River Valley in New York. Unfortunately, the Dutch also had slaves with them. Slaves were people brought over from Africa to do work for the white people against their will. They were bought and sold like things, not treated like real people, and they had to work for free. The Dutch either already had the slaves when they first arrived, or they brought in new slaves from captured pirate ships on the Atlantic Ocean. Now in 1638 we had new European colonists from Sweden and Finland come to New Jersey. Finland, by the way, was ruled by Sweden in those days. Just like the Dutch, the Swedes named their colony after their old home and called it New Sweden. Their colony was much smaller and never had more than a few hundred people. Now, as a reminder, this was the whole area that the Dutch had settled. You'll see that some of it overlaps the New Sweden area. Well, the Dutch didn't like that, and after about 17 years, in 1655, the Dutch conquered the Swedes and made the whole area part of the New Netherlands. Now, you may be wondering why we don't just call this place New Netherlands anymore. And that's because in 1664, just a few years after conquering New Sweden, the Dutch themselves got conquered by colonists from Great Britain. And some of them, unfortunately, also had slaves from Africa. The British king put 2 white people in charge of the area. One man used to be in charge of an island in Great Britain called the Isle of Jersey. So just like the other colonists, they named the new place after their old home and called it New Jersey. So that is where we got our name. In fact, all of the first 13 colonies in America became British colonies until the Revolutionary War, when we decided we would rather be our own country and didn't want to be ruled by anyone else anymore. So now you've learned a little about the Native Americans who were already here, and the first people from other places who came to New Jersey, people from Holland, Sweden, Finland, Great Britain, and also the slaves from African countries. Now I want you to think about your own history a little bit. Has your family always lived in New Jersey for as long as anyone can remember, or did they come here more recently from somewhere else? Who could you ask to find out if you're not sure? Part of what makes our state so amazing is all the people who are from different places, bringing different things to share when they get here.